Excellent. I think we are going. How you guys doing today? Yeah? Yeah, kind of good. How are you guys doing today? Everyone else good? I heard like one or two people. Was it they said good or who? It sounded like it was in this direction. Okay, so you are doing good. Everyone else is asleep still. Anyone else? Yeah, good. Getting a few more thumbs up. Awesome. Excellent. Today is going to be great. Let's get through a couple of things here. We've kind of seen a few of these, so I'm going to pass by a few of those. The only thing I want to touch base right here is in our beliefs. I'd love to know what of this list resonates with someone here. I know it resonates with someone, so I'm not going to pretend that silence means that no one cares about anything on here, but I would love to know if there's something on this list that resonates with you guys. Brian?
Share something real quick since I'm fairly new here, but I would say teamwork has been pretty obvious here at KW. I feel, that it very much that people want to see everybody else succeed and are willing to do a little bit extra to make that happen. So I guess that's the one right now that kind of jumps out to me.
Awesome. Love that. Who else? You guys have had a second to look at it. One more. What resonates with you guys, either in your business or your personal life or here at the office, or I'm grasping here. You guys, there's something. Lisa, did you raise your hand? Or was that wasn't a spasm?
No, I've really always been impressed with the win-win, and really in this market, the deal is that you actually get under contract, right? If somebody wants a deal, well, let's do it. And the fact that if you're not giving the seller what they want and allowing them to have that win, you don't win either.
Yep. I love that. Thank you. Thank you very much. There are so many of these that I honestly, I love these. It just seems like it resonates with just naturally kind of how I believe business should be done. So I'd like to recap a few of those. Let's move forward with Brant. We've got kind of a mortgage minute, and we'd love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about Intralend as well.
Well, Intralend, yeah, we're a lender, but we're also here to keep you guys like RESPA compliant. So what that means is technically you're, when you do refer a lender to your client, you're supposed to be referring 2 or 3. So what you do is just have them come to us. They'll fill out an app. Think of us like Travelocity or something. So you'll come in and they'll fill out one application, and then we can get 3 bids out to some lenders that you select. We got cross country here with TJ. We'll throw them on to shop around, make sure your client's getting the best deal, and also keep everyone compliant too. And your clients are only filling out one app. They're not going to 3 different people and it's dragging on. Come to us, fill out one application. We get all the documents, make sure it's all good to go, pre-approved, and then we can shop around at different lenders, or we go wholesale as well. It just depends on what the needs of the client are met. So that's what Intralend pretty much does. Come talk to me or Eden. I don't know if she's here yet. Kind of how to get on the platform. It's pretty easy, especially you guys are all on the roster. So it takes just a few minutes and I'll show you how to work it.
Can I throw something in there? So a lot of agents have their own preferred lender, and they can be a part of that as well. They would just a few steps, and you'd be able to select your lender through the platform as well.
Yeah. So you select your lender. If they're not on there, we can get them on there if they want to get on board. And then you can select other people that you would want them to look to get your clients kind of the best deal. So that's what the Intralend is. Again, come see me or Eden after if you guys want to get on board and have more questions. I'm sure you'll see a lot. I'm upstairs on the 2nd floor across from Wow House. So you guys, any questions, stop by. Real quick with Mortgage Minute. What I'm seeing out there when the market's crazy, So I've never seen fluctuations that I've seen in my tenure. So every day is just different. And to that point, if you have any pre-approvals that are probably pre-approved in January or February, and you're still looking for houses, you're going to want to go back and get them pre-approved again, or have your lender at least look at it, because interest rates have gone up so much that I'm reevaluating my pre-approvals in January. I just had this guy I looked at pre-approved at 600. We had to reevaluate because the interest rates went up. He's only pre-approved at 540 now. So it brought him down. It was like a $300 payment swing. So if you have old pre-approvals, go get them re-looked at real quick. Make sure they're still good to go. Rates have gone that high. Just crazy. Second, what I'm seeing too are clients getting really restless about interest rates. So they're really anxious about the rates. They're seeing them rising. They're still looking for houses. Us and some other lenders too that we work with do a lock and shop. So what it is a 90-day lock. We'll lock them in to kind of bring them at ease. Then you have 90 days to close on that loan. And you don't have to have a property or anything. So usually shop for 60 to 65 days. Hopefully you find something, go under contract. We'll honor that lock from, on that 90-day lock. So I'm seeing a lot of that going on lately, especially with clients just freaking out when they see rates go up. So those are my two takeaways from the market today. Anyway, it's crazy out there. So good luck. Happy hunting.
Awesome. Excellent. Anyone have lender questions? Thank you, Brant. Perfect. A few things coming up, put on your schedule. If you need technology help, then put this on there weekly on Tuesdays from 2:30 to 3:30. We got Tech Bar upstairs. We've got Mix and Mingle. We love to just get to know each other. So this is Wednesday, the 23rd from 3 to 4. That's upstairs as well. How you can get more listings. This is taught by Christian Cole and Denny Grimes. This is on Zoom on the 23rd from 12 to 2. Book club, if you haven't already been a part of this, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Great. And 2:30. Headshots. If you need headshots, then we try to make those really inexpensive. We have someone who can come in and do that. So that's $25 shots, and that's very inexpensive. So plan on or get an appointment set up for that. That is from 2 to 6 on the 25th. And you can reach out to Sammy if you would like to set an appointment for that. Coming up on the 29th, this would be next week. Cody and Tori Watts, they're going to talk about lead gen as well. Orientation, this is the 31st at 10 a.m. Technology, if you can't tell, we want to make sure that you guys are well-versed in technology. We've got follow-up plans and strategies. This is March 29th at 1 o'clock. I'm going fast on these because you should have this in your email as well. Just want to bring it top of mind. So if you don't see those, then let us know. Converting your database. This is April 1st at 1 o'clock here. And Meet the Masters. This is a segment that we have once a month where we bring in one of the masters here in our office, sometimes outside. And this one is Jared Hansen, one of the top agents, the top independent in our office this last year. And that is April 14th from 1 to 2. Awards meetings, but yeah, he was the top individual agent. Of course, that puts in the top. We've got a garden party, kind of an open house celebration. That's and that gets us to our amazing people today. I've been so excited to have the Wisers come. They are great friends of mine and people that I look up to in their business. They have an amazing team. It's been fun being a part of the brokerage. Anyone else that's been here for several years, kind of seeing that they've done here in our office in the last, how long have you, like 5, 6 years-ish? Here, maybe 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Oh, when New Orleans, that was maybe 4 years, 3, 4 years ago. I don't know. Depends whether you count 2020 as a full year or not. Anyways, these guys are amazing. They have an amazing team, and we are so privileged to have them and learn from them and what they do, because they were definitely top agents in our office last year. So let's give them some love and welcome them up here. This way you guys don't have to fight over
Okay.
mics.
Yeah.
Probably better that way.
thanks. And is this on Zoom too?
It is. Yep.
Okay. So talk really well in the microphone.
They can hear you pretty well in there.
Okay. Okay. I'm Kristy and this is David. And I just thought that I would start us off by kind of introducing ourselves and our background and who we are. And then we'll kind of go through the course of our business and then end it with questions if you guys have any. So who we are, like Tyler said, we've been part of KW for like 4 years now. And since then, or just last year alone, our team, I'll do our team figures. I think we closed about 125 together. GCI, probably about $1 million for all of us collectively. So yeah, we tried to do, crank it and grind hard and do a lot of business, but our background of what started Dave and I to get into real estate, I figured I'd just start briefly from how it all started. So when I met Dave, he always had an entrepreneurial mindset. I feel like I'm married to such a driver personality, which is awesome, because really why this all started and what got us into this is definitely him. But he started a landscaping business and he would listen to podcasts all the
Don't do
time.
that.
Yeah, he had worked for a landscaping business. And so then he was like, I'm going to start my own, which was awesome. And it did well, but it was mostly while he was mowing lawns, he would listen to podcasts and motivational speakers. And that got him really interested and through friendships with investments. And so he always would tell me, I want to do something that will make us enough money so that ultimately we can have real estate investments, have our money work for ourselves and cash flow and things like that. So obviously through the path of finding out what career that was, he recognized, let's do real estate, because what better yet being in the business when you're going to invest. In the meantime, I was working for like a marketing firm where we reached out to small shops and bloggers and things like that. And it wasn't until I had those connections in my relationship that actually connected us with Tyler wants specifics. So we figured we'd just do specifics.
Life story for the last 10 years.
Yeah. And so we actually joined Cody Watt's team is what I'm saying. So we joined Cody Watt's team when we originally started, and he, helped motivate us and everything like that. It wasn't until a couple of years after that, we started doing things on our own. We went to a coaching seminar. Actually, it was for a CE class. It was at the Megaplex Theater. I told Dave, hey, I'm going to this guy named Tom Ferry is speaking. I'm going for credits. And Dave's like, what the heck? I've always wanted to talk to him. So anyway, we went to that, and that really kicked off like my motivation of getting into real estate, because it was a script seminar. And I signed up for it. I was like, I'm going to go to the script seminar. It's like a week long. They teach you, the mannerisms, how to talk scripts and everything like that. And I went to that. And that's what ultimately divided mine and Dave's roles in real estate. Originally, we were both kind of grinding at our own clients, going to show homes, closing deals individually. But until I went to the script seminar, and alongside of having babies and needing to stay home with them and not having the chaotic schedule of real estate, I decided that I was going to be the main, I call myself the client care coordinator. So I am the conversationalist. I introduce myself to clients, and then I close them, and then I set the appointments. And from there, Dave goes on the appointments and he handles negotiations and contracts. And it's actually been a really well blend for us. I feel like that's what ultimately allowed us to excel in our business, just dividing those roles. From there, we were able to hire assistants to fill in the gaps. And then, it wasn't until about like 5 or 4 years ago that we really started building a team where we recruited other agents to help us with the business that we couldn't handle, or, the buyers that we couldn't show, and go from there. as far as like who we are as individuals, we're really interested in, boating and traveling with our kids. We have 3 kids. We have a lot of hobbies as far as like, going places, side by sides, things like that. But transitioning into lead gen and building our business, I figured I'd let Dave take off, more of that side for a second. I feel like ultimately what he's going to talk about is it's not just one thing in this business that makes you good. Like anybody can go and memorize a script, but it's more of the foundation of it that I feel has really helped us navigate this, and the mental shift, and just being able to balance it all and really strive to learn all of it. So as far as mental shifts goes, here's Dave.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about just basically part of lead generation, I think actually ties into like your mindset and the things that you're reading about and thinking about and talking about, not just with like the people you're calling on the phone, but just you as a person when you're with your friends and family. Because what you realize is you basically, I think to succeed in this business, you have to go all in and you have to be willing to basically become almost obsessed with real estate, because it's such a big thing that everybody's talking about it, even if they're like working for a tech company, when they're hanging out with a bunch of friends, people end up talking about their houses and the homes are going to be selling. And so you got to be so obsessed with it that you know about those things when you're hanging out with your friends, and you know how to help them sell a home, and you know the scripts so that when you're just out and about, you know how to talk to somebody that you're next to, whatever it may be. You got to know how to turn that person that you're talking to, that friend, that family member, into a possible client in the future and build their trust in you because you know about real estate. So I think that's important. So you almost have to have a mindset change, or from, this is my job, I'm going to only do it as my job. You have to change it to be like, this is my life and real estate's our life. And it's so many other people's lives. And all we want to do is help them get what they want in the time they want. And they'll ask you questions, and the more education you can give the people that you're talking to, the more likely they are to come back and talk to you more, because you're giving them information and you're not asking for anything in return, and it builds trust, and it's a win-win. I just didn't want to like rain on your parade, right? So, but yeah, you got win-wins and you got building trust, and it just by being honest with people, sharing experiences. I usually the best deals come from when you're communicating with people about something different than what they're planning on doing, and then they come to you about the home they need to sell, or they're wanting to do investments now. That's what I've noticed over the years. So that's important. Have a good mindset and be focused on real estate so that you're ready when the opportunity arises. And Chris is going to go over some important parts about having a mindset with like having goals and things like that.
Yeah. So one thing that we do around like October, the last quarter of the year, and we usually sit down with our team or just individually, Dave and I, retreated away to Park City or something and just like focus on like goal planning for the following year, which obviously is essential. I'm sure you've heard that countless times, but so we just start from the basics. One thing that I have to remind myself though, is everybody's goals are different. So you obviously see people, grinding their hearts away and doing, tons of stuff. But I feel like it's nice to make sure that you always personalize it to what fits you and what you want to do. So we usually start backwards and are just like, hey, what do we want to make this year? And and just start as simple as that. What do we want next year? And what do we want our income to look like that? And we are so specific with spider mapping out our goals. So we know exactly what we need to do to target that happening. And I really like that part about it, is just working backwards and being so specific with our goals, to the moment of saying, this is what I want to make, to breaking it down to how I'm going to make that. And setting our standard for ourselves. And so we just thought we'd
on
get,
that,
oh yeah.
like years ago, I remember when we only had like one house, we like, I made some stupid Excel spreadsheet and I was like, look, if we can buy a house every year, and then I did the math on appreciation and rental income on every single house as I went through. And then I had like a goal of having a net worth of, real estate, of owning like $5 million in real estate. And I was like, we just got to save up this amount every year. Now, obviously those things change, but having that goal written out so that it became like, okay, this is kind of what we have to do has helped get us to where we're at with the investing part, but it also helps with the prospecting part as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you were going to talk kind of about like goal planning from the basics. So initially what we do to goal plan.
Yeah. So when we do sit down and we have our goals, we'll actually specifically say, hey, we want X amount of buyers, we want X amount of sellers. So then it comes down to, where do I get these people? Majority of ours come from SOI or referrals. And then we also have online advertising as well. And we're constantly trying to add in extra things. And we usually, if we're adding in something, we only hope for maybe 1 or 2 deals from that we're adding in, because we don't want to put all our eggs on something that we actually don't know how it's going to work out. So point is you got to know where the leads are coming from and then work towards that. So
yeah, exactly. So one thing that I really like just through, our course of 10 years being in real estate is, initially when we first started it, we were trying to grind on like for sale by owners, door knocking, expireds, and some of that stuff, depending on your personality, can be miserable. Like I like certain things that another person might like doing better or not like, right? And so it wasn't until like a few years back that we went to like a seminar, listened to real estate, that we realized, oh my goodness, there are so many different avenues of business in this industry. You could do a billboard, you could do commercials on like online leads, radio stations, door knocking, expireds, for sale by owners. And there's so much, and it is kind of overwhelming. And so what we took from it is, yes, we don't want all of our eggs in one basket, right? If that fails, we don't want our system to crumble just because we built it on one pillar. So we always tell ourselves, we want to pick 3 to 5 and be really good at it. And then, and so whether it be online leads for you or door knocking, just really nail down how to be super good at that because you enjoy it. And so we picked that, and we love working with our friends and family. We love working with business. Now we've started to get agent to agent referrals from out of state, So it wasn't until after we really were able to execute something really well that we decided to add, how some of our coaches say, gravy onto it. So, now you might do door knocking, but you're already excelling in other categories that you can add that stuff. It's not going to replace it, but it's going to add it to your business. And at that point,
yeah, you gotta like, when you set your goal, okay, I want to do this, you need to just do it and stick with it and figure out and test out for a while and really go at it hard on all the aspects. So there's lots of different ways to, like, and I think people don't put as much emphasis on people they know or even people they kind of know as they should. Like, you're not an MLM. So you don't need to be embarrassed about talking to somebody about real estate or their homes or investing. Not that if you have an MLM, you need to be embarrassed. There's some really successful MLMs out there, guys. but at the same time, like, don't be embarrassed at all about reaching out to people. Be like, hey, have you thought about buying a home, or you have a home and you're wanting to upgrade? This helped us out tremendously when we didn't have as big of database in the beginning. Is I would just reach out to people through Facebook, people that I hadn't talked to for years, like 5 or 6 years, and reached out to them. And some of those became some of my best clients. So yeah. I just reach out to as many people as add them into your database, and then have a plan to follow up and contact those people consistently, and just have faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
The numbers game.
Yeah. And what that makes me think of too is, obviously, like, even with like lead sources, us being like, okay, where do we want our revenue streams coming in with lead sources? We also think of the same thing as a whole too. Like, where do we want our revenue streams coming in from real estate? So not only do we do transactions, we dabble in flipping homes and Airbnbs. We're just furnishing our 5th one, and we do long-term rentals, and he's building a house in Bear Lake right now. So we dabble in all of that. But I feel like transactions is where like the heart of our business is. And so that's when we put a lot of our focus in, okay, now where do we want to dive deep and help people? Mostly, I feel like just getting started out. Obviously, you probably want to target the most cost-effective ones. You don't want to be throwing in 100,000 into Zillow leads and just hoping it turns into business for you, right? So that's where I feel like it's really like important what Dave is saying about like working with your friends and family, because those people you already have the relationship with, and they don't cost you anything to just take them out to lunch or have those relationships with them. And then when you better that, then you can add something else like door knocking. And so we've obviously like increased expenses, and now we throw money into online leads and things like that, which costs a lot, but our conversion is so good that we've gotten to that point. And so I think that's some of the things that I would take away from this is just the milestones and doing the stepping stones in the right order. As far as like getting more specific into like our lead generation though, whether it be, you know, whatever you choose for your business or whatever I choose for my business with like online leads or SOI, I'll usually make sure that I have a plan to specifically every week, how am I going to touch that database this week? So if I wanted to close open houses, like 3 deals this year from an open house, obviously each week I'm probably going to be focused on what open houses am I going to be hosting or attending, right? Rather than not giving it a second thought, I'm not going to close anything. So I really strategize like every week to focus, how am I going to close deals in that category that I've specifically set a goal for. And then when you've gotten that, then I feel like other things come into place too. Like now that we have our categories or our pillars that we call it, that we close certain deals in, there's a lot of other things that I feel like really help us create momentum in closing those deals. And a couple of the things that I thought I'd be a little bit more specific on is appointments. So that's my job, is appointments. And I always get it in my head that appointments are a direct correlation to commissions. So that's my goal every single day. As I go into work and I'm going to leave setting an appointment, or that week I'm going to set 4 or 5 appointments. Some of the things that help us with that is our CRM. So just having a really good database that like the KW system, or what if you have something already in place that organizes all of your leads, allows you to task them, allows them to be sending listings or things like that, that just create value, but not to drop the ball on them. Because, you know, I don't know, like now I have a lot of leads to call each day, but I don't even know, with as much stuff as going on in people's lives, you know, from taking out the trash to eating lunch, how you'd remember to call a lead if you didn't have a task to do it, you know? So just being like, coming from 10 years into this, I still feel like that's so important, is to be able to have a calendar or some sort of system to remind you to follow up with these people. And then I also feel like it's really important to do some sort of follow-up plan. I've read like so many conversion things on, you know, how many times should you touch base? When should you touch base with them? You know, things like that. And so I've like narrowed it down so well to be able to know, like, I need to touch this lead X amount of times before they're going to say yes to me, or I need to ask them this many questions, yes or no questions on the phone, because the natural human brain wants to say 4 times, you know, so I need to at least ask them for the appointment initially 5 times on this phone call before I get a yes out of them. And just like really dialing down on learning more scripts, learning follow-up plans, and, you know, things like that is so important. Like reading or listening to podcasts. Another thing is speed to lead. So if you don't have some sort of system in place that allows you, if you're cooking dinner, or I'm a little crazy about this. I mean, sometimes Dave says, calm down. We're like literally in the beach at Cabo, calm down. But I'm like, I'm texting a lead, but I speed to that lead. I do different ringtones on my phone for when a lead texts me or anything. So if my phone vibrates in a different way, I know that I'm responding right away to that, like mid conversation. I don't know. It's just the way my brain has been programmed. But I see the benefit of it. So just replying really quickly to them. And then also another mentality that I feel like is a good one to keep is my main focus, like I said, is appointments. So if I can use other people, like a support system around me to help me do something that's not directly impacting setting an appointment, then I use them. Like, so my assistants, are my right hand girls. And, if they need to make a call because, it detracts me from making a phone call that could make me money or setting an appointment, I really utilize that. And then I know oftentimes when we sat up here, we've talked about scripts, but just in itself, and I don't want to be going off too long because I want you to be able to ask questions. But when it comes to scripts, I feel like anybody can memorize anything. And so it's how you deliver the message that's most important. So when it comes to scripts, I've gone to so many, seminars about this, or I've role played in the mirror, role played with Dave, but even just standing up and your mannerisms or things like that really change the script. The intent changes the script. So are you in it to be a salesperson? Are you in it to truly believe in real estate and help a person? Definitely changes it. Speed, and then also just bringing value to the table. Like if you can't end it with an appointment, what value are you bringing just in the future so that you can like nurture them again? And that's some of the things that I wanted to kind of touch base with, but maybe you want to end it.
And I'm just kidding. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a few questions. So what would you say your current main pillars of lead sources are right now? Probably SOI and
SOI, and we do online leads, kind of basically like reaching out to people through whether it's Facebook, Instagram.
So are you using social media online leads, or are you doing like Realtor or Zillow?
We've done it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
What
do
are
it
you
all.
currently using?
We use online, like,
We don't
social
do
media.
Zillow right now.
yeah, we don't do Zillow right now.
We tried it last year, but like we said, try everything. But so I have something that's in
I
front
think
of
that
me.
depends on the zip code you get. We don't do it enough to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like social media, those are like pretty, I've tried them out pretty far and few between. Is that what you're finding success with? Because
Yeah.
it seems like those are
It's a
probably
lot.
1 to 3%, if that.
Yeah. So in front of us, like
I
each
think
of
it's 2%,
myself,
right? Yeah. 2% of the people that sign up end up getting.
I don't know. I don't know the exact from social media. So to answer your question, what we do is when we like get together, like before the year starts with our team, is we all say, okay, pick your five areas that you want to, target. So if I wanted to do, we lowered our transactional goal this year. So we just had set it to 55 versus like 80, like the years before. And my 55, I want them to come from SOI, agent to agent, social media, and online leads, whether that's paying for Zillow, paying for realtor.com, paying for Google, we just dabble a little bit into it all just so that I in turn hope to have a return on X amount on online leads versus like my teammates, they have some goals to close some expireds and for sell by owners like that.
Yeah. So you have everybody in charge of their own stuff.
Mhm.
As far as you're going to be getting in a lot of leads, so I would assume you have some sort of like automated thing for Facebook, kind of that gets them through a little like a drip campaign, kind of, or do you reply?
So
to
I
every
have like
person?
a guy that does my marketing.
Okay, and
So-
same with Google. I would imagine you have someone.
Yeah, he kind of does it all.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's nice.
But as far as
We just
the,
pay him to do it. And it's just a friend of ours.
Are you using Boomtown on Google?
No, we use our CRM, CR Interactive,
Okay.
but I think it's similar to
command.
Command.
So
I don't even get in there.
yeah, but to answer your question, we do have everybody on a drip
I love
campaign.
KW though, guys. I love it here so much. I do, I promise.
As far as like, I don't know how like specific CRMs can dial in because we've used Sierra Interactive for so long. So it's just
CR Interactive.
Sierra Interactive, but look into command because we're not here to sell that. We don't make commissions on Sierra Interactive. But I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure it's very similar that if you can get a CRM that's very dialed in to converting your leads, that would be good. Because I can tell my CRM to say like anybody who signs up through Instagram, just giving in a vague example, I want them to go on this action plan. Anybody who signs up through this, I want them to go on this action plan just to feel a little bit more personalized.
I think where people usually drop the ball on the types of leads we do is they don't follow up enough. That's kind of
100%.
hard.
That's what I learned that last year, because there's probably 6 or 7 on my first year that I met with before that I didn't close because of my follow-up. So that was one thing I definitely.
And
Yeah.
if you
That was
met
a
with
huge thing.
them,
That was one thing you touched on is setting a task. And like with the command, I have a task for every single person.
Yeah.
And now it creates work for me to do. So I'm never losing somebody in
Yeah.
the cracks. So that's very important. And then last thing I had for you, it seems like it's very crucial for you to try to get in front of the lead as soon as possible, is kind of what it made it sound like. So if they are a few months out, are you still trying to get in front of them, even if you really can't do anything
Yeah.
for 6 months?
Absolutely. Because I feel like that face-to-face interaction of just like information is going to be crucial to being able to help them. So even if it's just meeting them for coffee or in the office just to talk about the process and what your hand is going to be like in the process, I think that's important, because I've been burned too many times through experience that I'm like, this lead just feels like they need to work on their credit, so I'm going to send them over to a lender. But then the lender that I chose for them to send to, they end up having a relative that was a lender, and then the relative passed them on to a realtor. So I'm like, if I can intervene at all before all of that, I think my chances of success of working with them just increase.
So you're just kind of like, hey, like, I know we're a few months out. I just want to make sure that, we can start a roadmap to see where you want to get and
Yeah.
kind of crystal clear on expectations and just get in front of them.
we do
Yeah.
buyer consults.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what we call it. When we want to meet with a buyer, hey, we'll sit down and do a buyer consult and go over how to buy a home.
yes.
What's a way to make them intrigued? Because they're like, because I feel like a lot of times, especially if leads aren't like that motivated, and they're like, I'm a ways out. Why do I really need to do this right now?
I think it's asking for the right questions prior to that. Cause like I said, like most people want to reject things for like 3 or 4 times before they agree to things. So if you ask them for the right like motivation and timing questions prior to that, you can navigate asking them for the appointment, knowing that information. So if somebody comes to me and is like, oh, well, I still need to go to financing, and that's their objection, I would probably introduce the appointment being like, now I know you said you still need to work on financing, which is a crucial step, but why don't we sit down just for 10 to 15 minutes and go over exactly what it takes to buy a home in today's competitive market and exactly what I can do to help you.
Find the problem, solve the solution.
Yeah.
You got to find what does motivate. You can't create motivation, but you can find out what motivates them and focus on that.
Yeah. I almost like pulling out the rejections or the objections, because I act like the appointment is the solution to all of that,
Yeah, because it's a lot easier to sit down and then educate them about the process and remove any concerns they may have, because they might in their mind be thinking, okay, I'm not ready because I don't want to buy for 2 months. Well, I mean, it could take 2 months plus to buy a house. So
Yeah.
they may not even realize that, because people don't know what they don't know until you tell them. So you got to find out what motivates them and then focus on that to get them the appointment. So
Yeah.
Further questions? What does your follow-up system look like for online leads? I know you guys are really good at that. You've got it kind of automated. Is
Mhm.
that call, text, email? Does it look like 10 days of pain? What's that?
It does look like 10 days of pain. We instantly start sending them listings. We instantly start sending them emails. And then I instantly start calling and texting them. So it might be, I don't know, in a period of like 10 or 14 days, probably
a lot.
40 or 50 times reaching out to them in some form. I don't harass them like on the phone every day. Sometimes I space it out and just text them, drop voicemails, things like that. But I do at least try to like contact them
That's including
6
emails
to
too.
7 times
Yeah.
personally, just to get them on the phone and engage with them.
So you got emails and texts and preferably phone calls as well. And then we knock on their door. I'm just kidding. We don't go out and knock on people's doors.
Yeah.
You could.
But you're touching about 30 to 40 times.
Yeah,
through
I
email,
am.
Text and call. all
Yeah,
of that.
but they're different ways. So I don't feel like it's all marketing.
Very rarely do you
Necessarily.
get people complaining, being like, you called us way too many times. Not very often.
Yeah, because I kind of like it because there's a few different areas where they can unsubscribe for things. So rather than just unsubscribing or the moment that they say stop on one thing, yes, it might like kick off my text from being allowed to send to them. But like my marketing emails are still going out, my listing emails are still going out, and they have to individually like stop 4 or 5 different
Unsubscribe.
unsubscribe buttons before my communication is totally obsolete. If
That's
that makes
cool.
sense.
So that's like 3 a day, roughly.
For communication?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably within the first 10 days. Yeah. And then it kind
Well,
of
usually
How many
there's
of
like an
those are
introductory email
All
and
of
then
them.
there's a follow-up and then. yeah.
everything's automated until they respond to me. I try to make them as personal as possible and I play around with it a lot. I have like algorithms that tell me my success rate on different scripts and I play around with it. So I'll play around with things during COVID and maybe throw in like a COVID comment or, low inventory comment. And right now I think my automation's to about 50% response rate. So, which I feel like is really good because I've tracked my numbers since I started. So for like 7 years, I can go back and say my response rates. And I think always I've gotten about like 30 to 40% to respond back to like phone calls I make or texts I make and things like that. And it used to be, from how many conversations to set an appointment. And this year so far, I'm to every 8 people that I talk to, I set an appointment versus like before it was maybe 40, or something like that. So I play around with that a lot, like just. Yeah, but obviously like there's more to it than just getting the right system. It's just about saying the right thing and when it's sending out and things like that and how it's sending out. So there was a lot of thought. And like Dave said, we've hired a lot of people to help us. We've gone to a lot of things that really have put like a lot of weight into what we say and how we do it. Mm-hmm.
Same thing with like our SOI, we have a plan to reach out to them quarterly and then we send them mailers and we have events.
Yeah.
A few times a year. So we spend a lot of money on that. And that's really important.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the most important of
Yeah.
all is having a plan to reach out to X amount of people that, if you know them, even better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I can kind of had said, like, we do a roadmap where it specifically dials into it. Cause this stuff can just get so complex. I mean, like, there's been so many times where we go to a seminar and we hear the word commercial and we're like, oh my gosh, we're not doing commercials, and I leave like feeling anxious because I'm like, there's like 70 things that I'm not doing, So I think you just need to go back and be like, what are 3 things I really want to do? And then break it down and dial in and be like, how am I going to do that? What's the system? What's the systems I'm going to use? What are the scripts? What's the timelines and things like that?
Write it out, make
Yeah.
a plan, put it on the calendar, and then just like do it.
Yeah. And then we always tell our team, like, these systems are proven, but you have to track everything. Like I am such a big like believer in tracking everything. Like somebody were to ask how many people I talked to 3 years ago and how many conversations I have all of that stuff. And I just think this is a numbers game. And until you find out where you fit into the equation, then you're able to just work backwards from there, So meaning like if I want to close 55 deals, I know I need to call 4,600 people this year type thing, So something as specific as that.
I have a question. It's a 2-part question. Well, if someone else has a question, you guys can jump in as well. But if you had $500 to spend, like if your budget was $500, I know you're laughing because that's probably way less.
No,
than
I
what
was
you're-
like, I'll just let Dave take it.
I'll take it.
Let Dave take it.
So the
from here.
point is, if you have $500, if your budget is $500, maybe what's that, $6,000 a year?
500
If
a
that's your
month.
lead gen budget, what would you spend that on?
I would spend it 100% on SOI, like creating your database of people you kind of know already. I wouldn't spend it on online. I going back, I would have done that, I think first. I think you just start fake it till you make it. I hate that. I hate it so much. But at the same time, if you are learning and educating yourself and know what's going on in the real estate market, you're not faking it. You just haven't done a lot of transactions. You don't need to be like, well, I'm doing all these transactions and I'm making all this money. But you could be like, hey, I know what's happening in the market right now. I know X amount of homes are on the market. I know that this many sold last week. I know these things. And then that's going to put you in a good position. So then when you are messaging your SOI, I would create an event and I would start having, so that's where the money's going, is the events that you're going to do. So whether it's you start doing some events where you're have food for people who are coming to your event, or whether it's you do a big event where you invite all your friends, family, people you know, as many as you can to like a movie, and you just, invite them all. I think that is what I would focus on is that 100%.
Yeah, it is true. Because if we were to look at like all the categories of the pillars that we focus on, I feel like SOI, friends and family, past clients, referrals is definitely the portion of our business that goes the longest way with the least amount of money. You could do a movie event for $3,000.
And effort. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's funner. So I would 100% do that. I wish I knew that back 10 years ago to just be like, hey, let's do these events. Because in my mind, I thought I needed to have the clientele before I did an event. But looking back, I would have just straight up messaged everybody I know and been like, hey, I have a cool event coming up. You want to come? For my real estate business that I'm doing. That's what I would do, 100%.
What if your SOI, they're all first home buyers and cannot compete in this market? Would you invest that 500 somewhere else?
Did reach out to more? I don't know. I think we don't know. I don't think we know what people can do until after we start talking to them. So
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to be like, oh, all my SOI can't buy a house unless you really find out that they all got pre-approved and they all got told no to, I don't know your SOI, but yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming with that, but
I also think that you need to look at SOI as they're just not always going to be your direct business. Like some of our most profitable returning clients have been so profitable because they're not returning, but they're giving us business.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, 6,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. $6,000. And let's say you did 2 events and you spent, or let's say you did 1 event, but then you did a bunch of small events and you got a few hundred people in your database. I mean, there's got to be like 10 people in there at least that can buy. That's all you need. And that made up way more than $6,000. 6 deals out of $6 is great. Because right now, I mean, with the average commission being in, let's see, I don't know, $12,000 at least. So, I mean, yeah, I still think it's worth it because if you can get your database bigger, it's better.
Yeah.
Because if you start spending money on online stuff and you don't know how to close those, you're just going to be wasting money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Friends invite friends to free things.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, because we're doing a movie event and we're like, invite your friends, invite family, and we're having people like sign up with 8 tickets. And I'm like, who's these 8 people? But like, if you can narrow it down when they come and convert them and just build that relationship,
$80.
we've built relationships just being from people being invited. Like yesterday, I was reaching out to people to invite them to this event, and some of them I was going through, and I was like, you know what? I have had such good conversation with her for like 3 years. Have I even done a deal with this lady? And I was looking back and I could not find any evidence. I'm like, I haven't even closed her, but she's done so much for me, and stuff. So I think that's great. And I think
some people surprise you. Sometimes some people that you don't think have money have more money than you realize. So,
yeah. And I think one thing goes back to like tracking and making sure your systems are the most profitable is like, yes, you do want a lot of people in your sphere, but you just don't want always just have people who aren't responding to you or never providing business for you. So you got to categorize them in a way that I'm at least seeing 10% return on my sphere. Otherwise, which ones can I weed out that haven't given me business for a while, and how can I grow it in other areas with people who have been?
But if they're coming to events and they're inviting friends and family, or if they're spending the time to go to like a buyer presentation or whatever type of presentation you're putting on, then they're a little bit committed to you. And that's a good thing. Because the more people you have committed to working with you, the more likely you are to get a referral and close a deal. I don't know. That's in my opinion.
We have time for a couple more questions.
So I personally love the whole event pillar. So my question for you is the size of business that you are 10 years in, do you have somebody that's dedicated to that? Or is that just something you build into your year plan and you just plan them as they come?
We just plan them as they come, but we
Yeah.
have our assistants that help us now. But in the beginning, we did it.
Yeah. We usually just think out the year in advance, saying like, how many events do we want to do? What are we going to spend on them? And then maybe like 3 to 6 months before, we're already thinking in kind of advance what the year is going to hold, you know?
Yeah.
And how many people are going to come. Sometimes we do events targeting different clientele. So in January, we did a VIP dinner. So we had all of our team invite anybody who had given us, you know, had done 2 transactions with us or had given us a referral that closed with us. And so we invited people to Cafe Molis and, you know, we had people come
Just that
and
was
build
just for
up the
them,
level,
and
and it was
they-
fun. And it was just a
Yeah.
one-on-one date for them. Like
Yeah,
we
just gave them a
introduced them
date.
to it.
It was like
and-
a date night for them, and we didn't even, it wasn't a huge event. It was like, we said hi to them, but we got to spend the time talking to them before they came to the event, which is one of the most important parts about events, and like, is the talking to the people that you are inviting.
Yeah. And obviously, and like the follow-up, thanks for coming. Just let you know that I always want to be your real estate resource type thing, you know?
Yeah.
So if you guys were to move to a different state and start your business all over again with no SOI and no money, what would be the first thing you would do? What would you do to generate business?
Probably, I don't know.
I won't move. I'm just kidding.
No, if we were gonna
I'd
start,
buy real estate and invest.
Or if you could have done it over again?
Yeah, like I said, if I was to do it again, but I mean, I've lived here and grew up here, you know, so in that aspect, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But
I think what I would do is if we move, not knowing a single person, sorry, it was hard to visualize because yeah, we probably wouldn't do that. But I think we would just start with creating relationships, maybe going out, making friends, having conversations with that, because that's going to be the most cost effective. And then
we do
building a
some
circle.
paid advertising.
Yeah.
Do the online leads that we do already.
Yeah. Social
That's
media.
probably what I would
everything.
do. But that's really high. Like there's times when I'm like, I don't know if I want to do these anymore because they're very expensive. And but I even have Kristy who can close a deal. She can get a client to meet with us after talking to 8 people, she'll have an appointment, right? So that's really good conversion rate. And there's still times where I'm like, man, these online leads are very expensive. So it would be very hard for me to be like, oh, I'm going to go to another state and start doing this as my only pillar of business. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. I would never put that on. I'd probably go door knocking. Actually, if I didn't have a lot of money, I'd probably just go door knocking, and maybe have some type of event inviting renters to the event to learn about buying a home. I probably should do that. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'd probably go to renters and invite them to an event that I'm going to teach them about buying a house. Maybe there's one person out of 100 that can buy, but that's all I need is one, right? And then 70 more. Okay.
Any other questions? That's awesome. Let's give these guys a round of applause and thank them. You guys are great. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, they have someone that puts their lead gen into practice. They are fantastic examples of that. And a conversion rate of 1 in 8 and to get an appointment, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, we just want to thank Intralend. They brought lunch for us in the back, so go enjoy that. And as always, take